listening to Jamie's Local Love, the podcast, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast.
Hi, everybody. I'm your host, Jamie Soretta. On this podcast, we celebrate everything local, and 'tis the season for celebrations right now. But just because we're celebrating doesn't mean you have to drink alcohol. Joining me now is Kristine Abrams-Petersman. She is with the Nixer. Kristine,
Yes.
hello.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Tell me about the Nixer. What does that name mean, and what are you doing?
The Nixer nixes the alcohol, but that's it. Not the fun, not the socialization, not the having something in your hand. We want all of that to remain the same, but we just nix the alcohol. So we are connecting non-alcoholic beverages with the people looking for them in Phoenix.
So you're a pop-up bar? Is that how it works?
Yes. So we pop up around the valley. We do markets, events, concerts. We just did a music festival, things like that. We also have taken lately to putting our drinks into establishments around town. There's just some people been reaching out and like what we're doing. And so it's been a ride. It's been fun.
So when you say putting your drinks into different locations, are these mocktail drinks that you created or
Yes.
beverages that you use in them?
Yes. So we create the recipes and make non-alcoholic cocktails on the trailer. But for those venues, bars, restaurants that may want something on their menu, because restaurants are finding that there's this population coming in that will purchase a water or a soda, when if you had something non-alcoholic and delicious and sometimes even functional, they would purchase that. So we're going in and we're teaching the bartenders some of our recipes and putting that drink on their menu.
I mean, that's money on the table. I could be
Exactly.
paying $20 for a
Exactly.
delicious botanical drink, or, $5 for my Diet Coke.
Yes.
So you're educating people as well. Tell me how you found this project of the Nixer, because this is established business that you then bought and took over. Why?
Right. So during the pandemic, when many people question their relationship with alcohol, myself included, there was a couple already in Phoenix. They started this pop-up trailer, the Nixer. They took a trailer, they converted it into a pop-up bar, and they, as a side project, went out to different events and offered non-alcoholic beverages. Well, their jobs became full-time again with the travel once the pandemic ended, and so they needed someone to take that over and maybe even take it to the next level, because they were seeing that there was a need for this, and they would love to sell it to someone who would take it and maybe run with it. And so we did. We met with them a couple times, and it just we had a shared vision of this non-alcoholic space, this movement, and so here we are.
Tell me about your relationship with alcohol and where you were when this business happened for you.
So 800 days ago, actually.
800 days. Congrats.
Yes.
Can we toast
Thank
with our
you.
waters?
Thank you.
800
Thank
days ago, you
you.
made a big decision.
Yes.
And what was that?
A big decision to just for a while, I was going to do it for 75 days, actually, take alcohol off the table. Just, again, questioning that relationship. It was becoming a little too much of a priority for me in my life, so I decided to take it off the table for a little while. Well, when I did that, and as the 75th day approached, I thought to myself, I don't want to put it back on the table. It's nice being off. It's not an option. I feel good. I feel clear. So I'm just going to keep going. So, and here I am 800 days later. And I did the research because I still liked to go out. I still liked to have something in my hand. I didn't always want to answer all the questions. So I decided to do the research. Well, there are a ton of great brands out there putting out non-alcoholic, delicious beverages. But a lot of them are direct to consumer. They're tough to get. They're not out in the bars and the restaurants and the concerts and the ball games. So this Nixer became a way of connecting those two things, all those great brands that are out there with the people of Phoenix like myself looking for them.
You mentioned one thing that struck a chord with me. You were prioritizing drinking.
Yes.
It's amazing how much you have to plan to drink.
Yes.
How am I going to get there? How am I going to get home? How many am I going to have? Have I eaten enough? Have I slept enough? I'm chugging my water.
How will I feel tomorrow? What
Where's
do I
my
have
super
to do?
B? I
Yeah.
mean, there is
And
a
we,
lot that goes
we
into
rationalize just because it becomes so important to us, and it is such an event. It's such in society. Events just revolve around it, and it's so expected that you will drink. So you just kind of fit it into your life no matter what that takes. And I didn't like doing that. I saw that I was putting it above some important things in my life, and that just didn't sit well with me.
Yeah. And so you made that change.
Yes.
And how does it all sit for you now?
It's better. I have to remind myself to live in the moment, which a lot of what we do is mindful drinking. That's what we like to say, because we're not saying alcohol is bad. We're not saying everyone needs to stop drinking, but we're just saying let's be mindful about how we consume alcohol, should you choose to, or should you choose not to. So you also have to be mindful about being in the moment, because I would love to go back and take alcohol off the table years ago. So a lot of that,
but you can't do that.
You can't go backwards, decision. Right?
You're making the decision now. So I think being proud of yourself now and looking forward to that future is so important.
Thank you. And that's what I'm trying to do in my daily life, and that's what I'm trying to help other people do. So if they are out and they've made that decision, whether that be for Sober October or their own personal reasons, or they're pregnant, or they're in recovery. I mean, there are tons of reasons. I'd like to help that person feel proud of their decision and put something delicious in their hand.
I always like to take February off, because I always said it's the shortest month. And then if I had a date for Valentine's Day, I'd drink. And if I didn't have a date for Valentine's Day, I might drink. So I left that option open. But I like just having 1 month, especially after the holidays and everything, to just kind of take a break and let your body chill for a minute.
Yes.
I remember I took a break from drinking in college, which college is a heavy drinking time in people's lives. I lost 10 pounds in 1 month.
Wow.
And people still thought I was drunk because it still acted wild. And I realized, I didn't need that alcohol. I just thought I did to have that fun. But being mindful and being a woman of a certain age, I also think when I get a beverage that's not alcoholic, how many calories am I putting in it? How much sugar is in it? So build me a mocktail that you might make for me. What kind of things are you using?
And that is one thing that, as we discover these relationships with restaurants and resorts and venues, that is one thing that maybe they got wrong when they tried to do a non-alcoholic menu and it just wasn't working. What a lot of places do is they take the alcohol out and then they just replace that with more juice or more simple syrup, and it just becomes this sugary mocktail that doesn't really suit the mindful drinker, because if you're removing that alcohol, you don't want to replace it with just sugar and empty calories. Right. So most of our drinks are quite the opposite. We look for great ingredients, low sugar. We also look for functional ingredients. So we take the alcohol out, but we may put in adaptogens or ginger or mushroom strains that are out there that work wonders for your body, work on your cortisol levels, can still chill you out, calm you down, whatever it is, or help you be social. So we're putting back into the drink not just sugar, but functional ingredients.
So there's mushroom in my mocktail? Tell me more.
There might be.
Tell me more, Kristine. What does this mean? What does this mean?
I know. I try to explain to my husband sometimes, because I've just dove into the world of adaptogens and nootropics and things that are good for you, that work on your body. So adaptogen is basically anything found in nature that works on your cortisol levels. So if you, maybe they're too high and you need to chill out a little, or maybe they're too low and you're kind of sluggish, an adaptogen by nature tries to get your body back to homeostasis, to be a little scientific.
Yeah, you're very scientific. And cortisol, that's the stress hormone.
That's
I think
the
there's
stress
a
hormone
commercial that runs on TV that tells me that all the time.
That is the stress hormone. And a lot of people think alcohol is the answer to that, but really it works in a negative way. It ultimately, that's why people, when they're hungover, that comes with anxiety a lot of the time. Yes.
Yeah, what did I do last night? Why do I feel so terrible about myself?
Yes.
Never thoughts that have been in my mind on a Sunday morning. Ever! So, Kristine, it is so interesting how I feel like the young kids get it.
They do.
I went to prom in my beautiful dress and I wore high heels and I suffered all night. These kids today wear their dress, they wear their sneakers, and they dance all night.
Yep.
They're also saying, I don't like the booze. Why are you guys drinking?
Isn't that interesting? Because I always say we started when we took over this business and started approaching the public with what we had, what we offered, what we were doing, we found a lot of people that were questioning their relationship with alcohol. But as we do it more and more, we're finding this generation coming up is not even interested in starting a relationship with alcohol. Well, but if you think about it, they grew up a very mindful, I mean, I have a 20-year-old son. He grew up doing yoga and having mindful sessions in school, in middle school. So
mental health always spoken about.
Right.
I never heard the word mental health into years into my career.
Nope. It wasn't really a thing for us. It was kind of pushed in the background. It wasn't really dealt with, talked about. This is a generation that is growing up already aware of mindfulness and what they're putting in their body, what they're doing. So they are coming out and saying, why would I want to start that relationship? So it's another whole demographic coming up, which again, whose money will be being spent out there in the next decade or so? It's these dollars, and they're looking for something like what we offer. So that was a great surprise to come out and find, oh, there's this whole generation that we can help too.
I think more and more people are talking about it. I went to a wedding this weekend. I had a blast. I drank 3 mocktails.
Wow, I love that.
It was delightful. There was a round of tequila. I held it up. I took the photo and I put it back down. And then I looked back at the table. Half those shots were still there. I feel like, people are kind of casually leaning into this idea. And it also reminded me how easy it is. I have a lot of fun in my sober life. Why do I think I need that cocktail? You don't really need it all the time.
Don't really need it. Kind of we think we do.
But I am eyeing that bubbly bottle you have over here. So let's talk about some of these things. While I say I don't need it, what do you have over there?
But isn't it still fun and celebratory and
have the pretty glass?
Exactly.
What products did you bring here? Are these products that you use? Or?
So these are products. So like I said, what we do is we can show up to events and create non-alcoholic cocktails with some elixirs and non-alcoholic spirits. We're also now doing these ready-to-drinks, as they call them. So we can help you set up a little area at your event or your party so that your guests, it's about being inclusive so that the guests have options. And if they don't want alcohol, they can read these ingredients and learn about the adaptogens and the science and taste all these new flavors, not just be regular water or soda or things like that. So it's giving people options. So yes, if you still want that bubbly, that clink, if you still are watching a game and want a beer, it's there and it's delicious. Non-alcoholic drinks have come a long way.
Yeah. I guess I'm curious what's in it when you talk about some of these, I've heard of the CBD drinks or the drinks with the mushroom. What is that?
Right. So a lot of times there's still a distilled drink. A lot of times they're using tea as the base. A lot of times the sparkling water that we have here has the CBD in it. A lot of times these drinks are hopped. So just like a beer is created, you can do like a hopped water, things like that. So all the different flavors. So the Parch that we have, that's actually an Arizona company out of Tucson. Oh, cool. They use flavors of the desert because they say, well, we're right here. We're in the desert. Let's use prickly pear and jicama and all these things.
Can we open this up?
Sure, we can have one. Yep, you want the Parch?
Yeah, you know me. I want to support local.
Yes.
So it's called Parch Spirits. Hear that glug, glug, glug.
So it's called an agave cocktail. So
no booze. I'm at work right now, Kristine.
No booze, no booze. Promise. It's got a little spice to it.
Oh, it is though.
It still has that kick.
Yeah, it does have what is that flavor?
But you're tasting some flavors of the desert and you're putting things in your body that are good for you. You're not, again, just replacing that alcohol with water or sugar or something like that.
So we're coming up in the holiday season.
Yes.
This is why I'm wearing my festive jacket. If you're watching, if you're listening, you'll have to look for my festive jacket on YouTube. So what advice do you have for people who are starting this journey? It can be an anxious time because you don't want to be that person at the Christmas party. Everyone talks about the next day, or you have to answer to your boss on Monday about what happened. What advice would you give someone?
Yes. And that's a tough one, especially if you are starting this journey, because as you get further and further along in the journey, you feel so good, you feel so clear, you become a lot more comfortable. But the beginning is tough, and you almost feel vulnerable when you go out, and because you'll get questions about why you're not drinking. You'll look different because you might have nothing, or again, a water in your hand when everyone else has that pretty glass, that garnished cocktail. So it's a vulnerable time. So just like you would in any other vulnerable situation, maybe it's about going and leaving early, just removing yourself from the situation. Maybe it's about bringing your own drinks, both, hey, as a hostess gift, but also for yourself. And guaranteed you bring it, and there will be others that want to try it. There will be others there that are sober curious and just haven't vocalized it yet. So there are several ways. And then again is just maybe telling people ahead of time, or telling your host or hostess ahead of time. Because a lot of people are very supportive when you explain what you're trying to do. They just, unless they know what it is, they're kind of in the dark. And a lot of people just need that education. Like, oh, I'm just so used to putting wine out. I never thought about putting out a non-alcoholic option. What? That's a great idea.
Yes, exactly.
So it's a lot of it is education.
I imagine, I don't think you're up against HIPAA. Do people whisper in your ear about, how do I get started? I imagine they must, you probably get a lot of,
a lot of DMs.
A lot of people telling you a lot of stories, like, please, anonymous. I never told anyone this, but ...
Because again, it's still a vulnerable time when you're starting to question that relationship with alcohol. But as soon as you hear that, well, someone else has gone through it and someone else. So a lot of what we do is, again, education or telling my story. And yes, every time I do or post something like that, I get messages coming straight to me that say, thank you for sharing that. Here's my story, or what advice do you have? I have an event. There's this concert I don't want to go to. Like, oh, do you have any advice? And that's great. That's, a part of what we want to do is not only put these drinks in people's hands, but be that support system and help people with, again, especially that beginning part.
What was the moment for you that made you want to just not drink for 75 days, which became 800?
Right. So looking back, again, it should have been sooner, but you justify. You justify, oh, it's fine, or it's a Wednesday and I have something to celebrate. So it was many years, I think, of justifying why alcohol was so important in my world. And then there came a point, it was actually 75 days before Thanksgiving a few years ago, that I thought, well, let's just remove it from the table. Let's take it off, and then come Thanksgiving, I'll have my glass of wine, because who gets through the holidays again, we were just saying, without that glass of wine. So for me, it was a definite, I just need to remove it for a little while, which then became, oh my goodness, I feel so good. I feel so clear. Let me find a way to help other people.
What physical changes did you see?
I think first of all, my whole circadian rhythm changed.
Oh,
so
really?
again, I'm
do it for the sleep, people.
I'm such an early to bed, early to rise person now, and that was never how my body operated. But you find with that comes certain things. You're up hours before everyone else, and it's just, you get so much more done. So the productivity. So I find myself wanting to hike more and more, and so your body slowly, for me, became better and better because I was clear and able to take care of it better and better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. So make me a cocktail. Make me a mocktail.
Right?
Yeah. So I want to hear what's in it.
So we work with a lot of ingredients. One that we're doing recently, for instance, is it's called Figlia. It's a spirit.
It's called what?
Figlia. So it's a brand that was started by someone who had alcoholism in their family, and and a lot of these brands have stories of their own just like that. And it's clovey. It kind of tastes like fall and winter, and we mix it with a little apple cider.
Oh, yeah.
We put a little non-alcoholic bitters in there, so that's another big thing that has happened to the non-alcoholic space.
I guess I didn't realize bitters was alcoholic. I thought it was just a mixer.
No, bitters definitely still, most of them have
okay.
alcohol in them. So there's a non-alcoholic version now called All the Bitter out there, and we work a lot with that because it just gives, it's kind of like the salt and pepper to your cocktail. It gives a little bit of something, a little bit of complexity. It brings out the other flavors. So we want to bring out the flavors of the clove and the bitter orange in that ingredient. So we add a little apple cider, we add a little lemon juice, we add a little of the non-alcoholic bitters. Now we shake it all up just like a regular cocktail. We pour it over ice. We garnish it. We garnish that one with dried apple and a little bit of cinnamon. So again, as you have that cocktail, you're getting a little bit of the cinnamon as you drink it, and you're getting the different flavors of the drink. So it's about the experience.
Yeah.
We don't just want to make a lemonade,
Yeah,
you know,
there
that you can chug. And nothing against lemonade. I love lemonade. But when other people are drinking, especially, or if you're dressed up and going out, you sometimes want something beautiful and garnished and delicious in your hand.
Yeah, no doubt. So this is not your full-time job. You've got another. Tell me about. You're a busy lady.
Pretty busy lately.
Yeah. So tell me about what you do during the day.
So my day job, which I've had for a few years, is I work for the Anthem Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm their membership services director. So as I always say, I've been supporting small businesses up in the Anthem area, North Phoenix area, for years. You know, it was my job to get to know these businesses and how we as the chamber could help them. Now, as a business owner, I feel like I do that job even better because until you're a business owner, you just don't get some of it. You just don't get it.
Yeah.
And now I feel like I do.
See, I support businesses, but there's so much I don't get. But I do get to ask this. On this podcast, I ask about the jump. So what did you not know, not expect, not see coming before you made that jump into owning a business yourself?
Several things, actually. And again, you would think I would be fully prepared from working with small businesses, but there were a few things that came with owning my own small business. One being some of my relationships changed and had to pivot a little because this consumes you. This takes up a lot of your time and energy and just mental space. And so if you don't have a supportive circle around you and people that understand that, some of those relationships definitely changed. Right down to my husband, my co-owner, partner in crime. Even us, we enjoyed our free time on the weekends. And, you know, that was a big part of our relationship. That kind of went away. And now we talk business. And so we've had to kind of just make that fun and keep that fun as best we can. The other thing is how vulnerable it can. And we touched on vulnerability when you're not drinking. There's a vulnerability to that. But also just when you're a small business, you have to put yourself out there. And there's a vulnerability that comes with that because not everything you do is going to work, you know, and you have to be okay with that. And so there were a couple little things like that were surprises to me when I took that jump.
Yeah, and that had nothing to do with finances or books or anything. That's all about you.
Right.
Yeah, really.
Because I feel like I was prepared for those logistics, those things that came with a small business. I don't think I was prepared for the emotional or personal part of it.
So with the Nixer, how would we become customers, consumers? How do we help build your business?
Yes. So we, on our website and our Instagram, we post a calendar of where we will be. So like I said, we do some markets, we do music festivals, we've been popping up at some grand openings, things where people are out socializing or celebrating and they may not want alcohol or they may want our options in addition to providing alcohol for their guests.
Did you say you're putting together little gift packs?
Yes. So that's been popular as holiday planning.
What does that look like?
So that looks like, say you're hosting either a company happy hour for the holidays, which we're doing next week, or you're hosting a dinner party, or simply someone that may be trying dry January and you need a gift. Several different reasons. We're finding that people want what we have on the truck when we're not doing an event, or they want to gift it to someone. So now we're doing these mindful variety packages where we put together some of our most popular drinks. Sometimes it's beers and the elixirs that I've described. Sometimes it's sparkling wine. We can really kind of curate it to the person. And then that's either a gift for them to give or it's options for them to put out at their event. So
put them in the cooler with everything else.
Exactly. Well, we just want to share the space with alcohol. We just want to be an option for people.
What are you loving in Arizona right now? What are you eating? What are you drinking? What are you reading? What are you doing? What are you loving right now?
Oh my goodness. So with all that free time
we
used to have, we love exploring Arizona. I mean, we were married on a trail a few years ago in Sedona. We love exploring our state and some of the awesome restaurants and venues that are out there. A recent one we just got one of our drinks into is a tiny little wine bar in Anthem, Lentrada. And they not only get it, but they are doing live music because I feel like around Phoenix it used to be a little tough to go and hear live music, but now it's getting better and better. So we love going and hearing live music sometimes and trying new things, whether that be food or a new hiking trail. There's so much you can do in Arizona.
I love having my days off here. I didn't want to travel unless we're talking about a beach. I just love being off.
That is one thing we don't have.
I know. How do we make that happen? But tell me the name of that wine bar again.
Lentrada.
So they have your drink, so you can go hear live music.
Yes.
You can have a non-alcoholic beverage.
Yep.
Or some wine if you want.
Yep.
And up there in
Options.
Anthem, and supporting your Anthem businesses.
Exactly.
Look at you. Making it all work.
I wear the two hats. I try to keep them both on.
You do it very well. Kristine Abrams-Petersman with the Nixer. Thank you so much for being with us. Let's do a little toast.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to Jamie's Local Love, the podcast. I'm your host, Jaime Serretta. Our technician is Tom Heidinger. Our editors are Lorraine Shearing and Gina Coy. Do you know a business worthy of some local love? Email me at jserretta@azfamily.com. Follow us at facebook.com/Serretta and Instagram @SerrettaNews. Make sure to subscribe and give us a 5-star review, please. And tell your friends about the podcast and the businesses we feature to show your local love. You can find us on Apple, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, and anywhere you get your podcasts.
Jamie's Local Love, an Arizona's Family Originals podcast.